This particular graphic, you'll recognize the Vitruvian Man, and you won't recognize, or some of you won't, this geometry. Okay, the geometry is the Rochelle, or the chief headstone of God. It's the third breastplate of Metatron. It's a system that the Templars specialized in, inner core, Masons, and all the priests, priestesses, the organizations back through the 19 cycles used the Rochelle system and variations of it. The geometry itself, this shows half of it here. There's another half down here, and these two halves are constantly imploding. This geometry includes a number of systems, a Grail, Greek pyramid. There's a equilateral triangle that will give us the star tetrahedron. Grail isn't shown here, but it's a cup that's in that area. And big 5-pointed stars in this thing. This isn't showing the whole Rochelle diagram, it's just a portion of it. But I wanted to show you this thing here.
Bill, can I just ask, are these circles or are they really ovoids? They don't look circular.
Well, the screen
It's
is
the screen, okay.
Yeah, these are circular rings.
Okay.
And they all have functions. So the Rochelle itself, the diagram, the dynamic, and all the forms in it, Thoth says it's like an exoskeleton, like a crab has an exoskeleton. But what's called the Eye of Ra is the internal creature. The Eye of Ra is a golden ratio rhombus, which is a time gate and pillar. So an example of, I don't have this thing here, but that's what this is for. This is a golden ratio 1 unit. That would be 1.618. This would be 2.618 or 5 squared. Our grids now are going out to phi to the 9th, which is somewhere up above the roof. This is an implosion system. And it's a gateway because it implodes from one dimension or universe or event in the future or past, and it does it safely. Thoth says other systems, people trying to time gate, sort of like going in as 9 sticks of gum coming out as a wad. You can't really sort out what stick was which. You don't want to mess around with time gates unless you know precisely what you're doing and why. There's 2 ranges of time. There's the orotronic universe that we're in now, very low frequency, designed for a certain specific function, and then the real one, the Metatronic universe, where our real universe is. We're in a parallel one. Now the Montauk Project abominations are limited to this orotronic range. This is why 2012 to them is a ceiling they can't get through because they're not there and don't have the equipment to do that, or the state of being because the Antichrist generated that science. We do not emphasize bold italics, do not relate to the Montauk Project crap. We are in a spiritually motivated, used, applied system. That's this thing. So this is built into the Rochelle. If I had the diagram, I'd show you. The Great Pyramid is that thing. So this is called a pool of the moon or pool of life, and there's golden ratio spirals that come out. It's an involved thing. So we're not here to learn that. I'm just introducing you to a major system that is the underlying system that we're using here. When we implode or use this, we're put back together again in the Rochelle formats of 5-point stars, seating systems, the communication grace factor of the tetrahedrons, the main temple form of the universe, the Great Pyramid, the states of being and realities that are generated by the Grail, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Just like that. We're flashing. And this thing puts us back together. And it eliminates the old, creates the new. All the universes are constantly regenerating instantly in a flow. This is what does it. So that's pretty important. I'll be referring to Eye of Ra, or the golden ratio. This is also a pillar. So if you're going into the pillar temple, you've all read about the Solomon temple, the Boaz pillar, and the Yachin pillar. They are this. So if you, with certain keyed formats, Yachin and Boaz. Okay, now, these two pillars, you're expected to be able to activate those two. But there's a third one in the middle that you don't see, and that's the primary one. So that gets you into the temple in the proper way that you do it. So it's basically, I'm mentioning that now, I find out now, that's what we're doing with this thing, with the Satrapman. The Satrapman, a whole bunch of these.
That work if we're going to see them.
Well, these go to Phi 9 right now in the grids and so forth, but they can go to Phi infinity in a Satrapman. And Thoth says very shortly we can eliminate these functions and simply be a tube.
Does the third pillar unify the two?
Yeah, they work together, but it's a synthesis, and yeah, and that is also a format that's using what's called the dione couplet, and we'll be using that as the name of God, E, Asher, E. That's a formula that uses this too, and we'll use that tomorrow, I think. Oh, okay, anyway, so back to Vitruvian guy. He is forming a 7-point star. The 7 in the Sheba is the feminine max or state. All of Europe operates basically all of its systems on the 7, or the goddess, state of being and energetic. So she is containing the man within her form. And he in turn is processing to return in a double flow. I think that, oh, just as a side note of great interest, we used to have the holy Isle of Ruta out in the Atlantic, and that was so holy it didn't fall. It projected to something called the Heliomar creation realm, and it's hanging out there right now in a system called the Telos Arcara, and that's what we're working in here.